Welcome to Supply Chain Now, the #1 voice of supply chain. Join us as we share critical news, key insights, and real supply chain leadership from across the globe, one conversation at a time.
Hey, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. Scott Luton and the one and only Kim Reuter with you here on Supply Chain Now. Welcome to today's show. Hey, Kim, how you doing today?
I am doing great. It is my Friday afternoon, and I think we're all just a little punch giggly by now.
Tell you, it has been a big day. It's been a big week, and what
Yep.
a interesting time in global supply
Oh,
chain we are, right?
absolutely. Yes.
Well,
Yes. Nonstop news cycles on this.
nonstop news cycles. But you know what? We're in good luck because not only do I get to talk and learn from Kim Reuter here today, we're also talking with a second supply chain leader that's been around the block a few times. That's right. He's just about seen it all, especially when it comes to global logistics. Now, today, folks, me and Kim, we're going to be talking with our guest about tariffs and what the path ahead may look like. We're going to be offering up some invaluable tips on trade compliance. We're going to be talking about some of the sourcing shifts that have been at play for a couple years now, and some advice on how to best manage global relationships, which of course is a big part of supply chain management. All of that and a whole bunch more. Kim, should be a great show, huh?
Always great topics. Customs compliance is near and dear to my heart.
Oh, okay. I learned something new every day. How about that? Well, folks, stay tuned for an informative, enlightening, and entertaining conversation. So, Kim, with no further ado, I'm going to welcome in our outstanding guest here today. Our guest serves as CEO of Taiwan-based Dimerco Express Group, a global logistics services company with over 150 offices throughout the world. Our guest brings over 35 years of logistics industry experience to the table. I told you he's a real pro. And in his current role, he oversees Demerco's 3 business divisions: air freight, ocean freight, and contract logistics. With all that said, I want to welcome in Mr. Jeffrey Shih. Jeffrey, how you doing today?
Hi, good. How about you guys? Yes.
We are great. We are great, Kim. We've had a good week, and we're going to top it off with a home run here, huh?
Sure are. It's gonna be a good one.
All right. So, Jeffrey, I got to ask you, um, you've got kind of like University of Kentucky colors on. Do you happen to be a Kentucky Wildcat fan?
No, actually, because I enjoy the golf, then ready to play golf tomorrow.
Oh,
Oh,
nice.
nice.
I'm jealous. I hadn't played golf, Kim, in about 17 years, I don't think. So
Wow.
I'm jealous. It hadn't been quite that long, but it should be.
Yes.
My golf game's that bad. But Kim, we learned something about Jeffrey beyond the fact he does have passion for golf, and I hear he's a scratch golfer. Is that right, Jeffrey?
Not really stretch golfer, but I do enjoy the golf because I've been playing almost 30 years.
Oh,
Really?
nice.
Yes.
Well, you're probably a lot better than I am, is my hunch. We'll compare our golf scores later, but let me ask you
Mhm.
this.
Yeah.
Kim and I learned in the pre-show that you are a big fan of 3 particular Michaels: Michael Jordan, Mike Tyson, and Michael Jackson. Is that right, Jeffrey?
Yes, correct. Because I
Okay.
transferred from Taipei in 1991. So during the 1990, those 10 years, I think those 3 Michael is very popular in the United States, or even
Hmm.
across the world,
That's
right?
right.
Because the population and their expertise in the sport or like dancing. I think this is something I remember back to the 1990.
Oh, I love it. That was so that 1991 time frame, Kim and Jeffrey, that was right before Michael Jordan and the Bulls went on a incredible run. I don't know how many championships they
Hmm.
won, but they won a bunch of them. That was, I think Mike Tyson was still the heavyweight champion, I think, in
Yes.
91. And
Mhm.
Michael Jackson, I'm sure he was on a world tour with his,
Yes.
massive inventory of #1 hits. And Kim, I got to ask you, in the pre-show, you narrowed it down to 2 of those. In particular, I think it was Tyson and Jackson. Which
Yes.
one which one do you give,
I'd
the
have to give tap honors to.
yeah?
It would have to be Jackson because so much of my young adulthood was spent dancing to Michael Jackson, hoping to Michael Jackson, wishing to Michael Jackson.
Yes.
So I'm gonna have to go with Michael Jackson.
Love it, love it. So, Jeffrey, with that in mind, uh,
Mhm.
did you also dance? I had the, parachute pants back in the day. I had my cardboard box broken out so I could do my break dancing very poorly. My golf game's the only thing worse than my break dancing, probably. Uh, Jeffrey, will you also admit to doing some bad dance moves to Michael Jackson's great music?
Actually, I remember he had the world tour,
Yes.
including to Asia, like Japan. And
Mm-hmm.
that is a phenomenal, because so many people crazy, everybody
Oh,
crazy about him, right? That's how I remember in Japan is one of the big tour for him.
yes.
Other than that, of course, the European country he also travel a lot. So
Mm.
so for the tour, that's
Uh,
how I remember. Yeah,
all of his tour stops would sell out, millions of people. Goodness gracious, he had quite the career. And
yeah,
I'm going to save y'all both. I'm not going to sing any of his songs today and ruin y'all's week. But let's do this. We got a lot to get into here, Jeffrey and Kim.
yeah.
And
Mhm.
I want to talk first. I want to level set first, Jeffrey. For the three people out there that may not know about Dimerco Express Group, tell us
Mhm.
a little bit about the company, if you would.
Yeah, the Dimerco Express Group was established back to 1971, July 15. Actually, we are the international freight forwarding company. We manage in air freight, ocean freight, and country logistics. And currently, we have the 160 over offices in the 17 countries. And actually, Dimerco is one of the first pioneer the public company in Taiwan in our industry, which is back to the 2001, October 15, right after the 9/11 in the United States.
Mm.
So I think that's a big step for our company. And in order for company grow to today, 54 years, I think two parts is very important.
Okay.
One, we are building up our own the IT system. We changed from the DOS version before the 2000. Then after 2000, we changed to the Windows version. And 2009, we upgrade our system to the web-based. From 2.0, now it's 3.0. I think that the two major part I was memorized clearly. One is back to the 2018 when I traveled to Hong Kong,
Yes.
and Hong Kong have the some political issue. I should say that. Then suddenly the government shut down all the public transportation in the morning during the rush hour. So everybody have to go back home. If the company doesn't have those we so-called IT system, you cannot manage in the global transportation. So there's no disruption from our company.
Mm.
Second, I think everyone know the we so-called pandemic because I was in Singapore at that time. During
Okay.
the pandemic, because the system, original system using the client server, which is people need to go back to the office. But during the pandemic, 80-90% people cannot go to office. You have to work from home. So without the system, I don't think you are capable to managing that. Of
Mm.
course, during the pandemic, the freight forwarding company or the supply chain is considered like essential because that the physical operation have to be done in the ocean port or the airport.
Mm.
But at least 80-90% have to go back to work from home. So the
Mm.
system we have, as long as we have the internet access, laptop or cell phone or even the notebook or even the tablet, we are able to manage our operation without any delay. So I
So
think that is one of the important. The other 4 years ago, we tried to build our own digital marketing, which is
okay.
leading by the Catherine. That's why today we have the opportunity to explore our company branding awareness, not only in the United States, but also like in Europe or in the Asia country. So I think those two are help company to grow substantially in the future. Because again, we are going to celebrate very soon the 54-year anniversary.
That should be a big parade, a big party, a big celebration, Jeffrey,
Yes,
because no
yes.
telling all the stories and all the things you overcame and innovated to grow and to find the success you have. So, Kim, a couple things that Jeffrey shared. Clearly, a lot of investment in all things technology to navigate when public transit systems go down and you don't have access to some of the bells, some of the information channels we do typically do otherwise, to navigate the pandemic and of course all the the change in how we work that's really brought to the globe and brought the supply chain and
Mhm.
business everywhere. Um,
Mhm.
and he also mentioned, kind of where we started about Demerco, probably where you'd be right at home: air freight, ocean freight, and contract logistics. Kim, we're talking your language. What'd you hear
We are.
there from Jeffrey?
Well, Jeffrey talked about logistics is 24/7. Anyone who's worked in the logistics industry, it is not a 9 to 5 job. I can tell you, if you have a 9 to 5 job in supply chain, I want to know how you did it. Because I can't tell you how many 3 a.m. phone calls I've been on, or 5 a.m. conference calls to make sure we're prepared for what's coming up. And so being able to have that technology and being able to manage worldwide from anywhere is absolutely key for any freight forwarding brokering operation.
I am with you. I mean, just the places he mentioned: San Francisco to Singapore to Hong Kong to Japan with the
Over the
Michael
sun.
Jackson tour, which has logistics.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk here in a second more about the relationship side of global supply chain. So stay tuned on that. But clearly, one last comment there is, Jeffrey, it's not, you don't cling to how businesses have been doing. What I'm hearing a little bit of is you're looking for new ways to improve and to add to the value you bring to the table for your customers. Is that right, Jeffrey?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So let's do this. I can only imagine. I bet you've got some pictures and some food experiences that we'd all be envious of, these places you've lived. 35 years of logistics industry experience is what you bring to the table. You've been with Demerco since 1988, Jeffrey.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
That's right.
so the industry's evolved, as we all know. Heck, just in the last couple of years, it's been interesting to see some of the evolutions. But some of the fundamentals to how we find success hasn't changed. Um, Jeffrey, the people that make up our industry, you've got a big passion for. So tell us, oftentimes these folks are way too invisible. They make global supply chain happen every single hour. Tell us more about why you're so passionate about serving the people that make up global supply chain.
Actually, I talked to some of the government people when I was in Singapore. Okay, a lot of people don't really know supply chain until pandemic happened, because you cannot travel, right? That's for the air freight. But how about the ocean freight? How are you going to move the product from point A to point B, or from country to different country? So by then people realize importance of the supply chain. And of course, supply chain, the logistic is a part of the supply chain. Then, like you mentioned, the people, the most important is people. So when I look back the 35-year experience in the company, actually you got to learn from the different country, different offices,
Yep.
different culture. That's why I myself, 1988, before I joined company, actually I'm looking for the opportunity. The company can send me to the different country.
Hmm.
Then the 2.5 years later, I come to United States. Then you have to learn the local practice, the not just the language, but the local practice, no matter import, export, air freight, ocean freight, custom clearance. Then about 10 years later, actually 15 years later, I joined the
Yeah.
customer from the customer side. Then after 2 years, I rejoined America. Then the 2016, I decided to move back to Asia. And in the Southeast Asia, actually Singapore usually is the regional office. Then I need to manage 7 different countries, including Singapore, Malaysia, Thailand, Philippines, Indonesia, India, and Australia. So think about that. Every country have their own religion,
Yep.
their belief, their behavior, right? And of course, English is a very important to communicate with all different countries. But
Hmm.
you got to learn their local culture. I think those are the most important. From there, then I can streamline the process for the customer, especially for the customer global requirement.
Hmm.
Because especially I stay in the USA for long enough before I transfer back to Asia.
Yeah.
Then 2022, after pandemic, I decided to move back to the United States. That's how I have the opportunity to be promoted to my current position.
So
Then
Jeffrey,
my coming role, I need to build the branding awareness and the network expansion in the United States because again, USA is still the number one market in terms of the global market.
so Jeffrey, as you were moving around through all those various career stops, did you ever hit a country that had no taxes? Because that's what
Yeah,
that's what I'm looking for. Any
please.
right? Same for you, Kim.
Yeah, please let me know where that is.
So, all right, but kidding
Yeah.
aside, Jeffrey, learning all the various cultures, the languages, the customs, the traditions, the various people in all those countries. Um, that is, I appreciate your deliberate call out of that because
Mhm.
you got to learn all of that before you can find success and you can
Yeah.
deal with folks and that to fix problems, but also find new opportunities. Kim, I know in your career, I'm probably speaking your language. You've done a lot of that. Your comments.
So yeah, I have when I was developing Amazon Global at Amazon, we had to figure out how to ship to 220 countries, right? So we got to figure out the import regulations for 220 countries, and we got to do it quick.
Wow.
I think the biggest thing that I have learned through all of that process is the myth of the harmonized tariff. It is not actually harmonized. It is different in every single country. So that was the biggest learning for me is that there is actually no harmonized tariff.
Mm. Well, so I'm glad you mentioned the T word because that's where we're going next with Jeffrey.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I tell you, it has been a challenging, surprising, minute by minute situation that we've been in over the last, it seems like a month or so. And I like how one retail leader called it because I really felt this, how she put this in my bones. We're all dealing with the rules of the moment. And it
Mhm.
seems to evolve moment by moment. So, Jeffrey,
Yeah.
when you're with the customers you're working with or what you're doing at Demerco or what you're seeing other leaders do, especially in supply chain organizations as they gear up
Mhm.
to navigate successfully through this challenging trade environment and landscape, what are you seeing companies how are they getting prepared?
Okay. I want to look at from the three perspective. The first one is the manufacturers. As you know, the China in the last 20 years, they already built a lot of manufacturing, right?
Yep.
So actually, because the 2018, the China plus one already in a hot topic at that time. A lot of manufacturer already shipping from China to Southeast Asia country, which is
Yep.
including Vietnam, Thailand, Malaysia, Philippines, India. I think the because a lot of people may not know or may know because China and Vietnam is connected together. So a lot of the manufacturer actually they can move through the cross-border road freight, including their material,
Mm.
or even some of the capital company. When I was in Singapore, actually we already see a lot of movement from China cross-border all the way to Singapore. Okay. Second thing, because that's so-called the nearshoring or reshoring, right? Reshoring because the 2024,
Yep.
the new government. So you see the manufacturer, actually some of the manufacturers are moving back. However, people always talk about the two major product, which is one is a semiconductor. As you know, TSMC is the number one globally. Actually, number two, Samsung or Intel, they are far behind the TSMC. But March 3rd, the chairman of the TSMC be request to come to United States, the White House, to sign additional 100 billion investment in Phoenix. Actually, they already invest 3 years ago.
Hmm.
They still have the 65 billion haven't finished yet. Then they have to sign additional 100 billion in the next 4 years. Other than that, actually, contract manufacturer, if you look at the contract manufacturer, which we including number one is a Foxconn, number
Yep.
two is the Flextronic, JBL, and Samina. And within the top 15, there's a seven company from Taiwan. They are not only doing the iPhone, they are also doing the cell phone for the other brand, as well as the particularly the notebook. So those manufacturers, they also ship from China to Southeast Asia, or even they ship back to the United States because they already have the setup, the manufacturer. Now they just need to expand, and because beside the notebook product electronic, they also talk about the AI server. You see the NVIDIA, all the investment of the server actually is from those country manufactured from Taiwan.
Hmm.
So that the importance of the Taiwan position in we so-called supply chain management of semiconductor as well as the electronic, because those companies, I think they are occupy very significant number in the global supply chain, and also the big impact to the consumer product, because this is related to every one of us. But they already set up the automation partially, or the manufacture in the cross border of the USA and Mexico. Of course, Mexico, you will be add on the tax, but I think that is the current government. They try to protect the USA, right? But we see some of the manufacturer already moving,
Yes.
and especially for the other commodity, the EV also very popular, right? China alone, they actually the EV for the automotive, they are the number one market right now. For EV, actually they share 68% of the global volume. The other is a solar panel. They are also share the global market share over 74%. I think those are the importance. We see the manufacturer shifting, but again, China still maintain very strong in the upstream of the supply chain.
Yeah.
Second part from the carrier, including air
Hey,
freight,
Jeffrey,
ocean. Yes,
can I, if I may, just before we move on to the second point,
yeah.
Kim, if I can, let me get Kim's comment here. And of course, one of the main themes Jeffrey was referencing there was some of the reshoring, especially nearshoring, but mainly reshoring, that where companies are trying to find ways of bringing production and in some cases get really creative with how they can avoid some of these tariffs. Kim, you're seeing this too. Your comments?
Yeah, so I work, predominantly in e-commerce and retail, and companies since 2018 have been trying to find additional resources for manufacturing. Some have been successful, some have not. Many have run into quality issues when they've tried to relocate. And I think
Mhm.
one thing that we have to remember and we have to keep in mind is that China has been perfecting manufacturing for over 60 years. It has been their country goal to be the biggest manufacturer in the world.
Mm.
So, yes, we do need to find other sources for manufacturing, but we got to walk before we run.
Mm. Well said. Well said. It's interesting. And Jeffrey, before we get to your kind of your second point here, I'm
Yeah.
learning more and more about the chicken tax. Jeffrey and
Mhm.
Kim, are y'all familiar with the chicken tax? Maybe not. Well,
We talked about this. Yes,
did we? We did talk about it yesterday, didn't we, Kim?
we did
Um,
talk about
yeah, it dates back from the 60s, right?
it.
I think LBJ was a president at the
We did.
time, and it was kind of a retaliatory move as some countries in Europe were placing big tariffs on exported chicken from the U.S. So
Mhm.
LBJ, Lyndon Baines Johnson, put a tariff on pickup trucks. And it's very interesting to see how that's kind of played out. And according to at least the Wall Street Journal, it hasn't collected as much money as I think the U.S. government wanted to do back in the 60s. But it's really shaped the pickup truck market in some interesting ways, mainly due to reshoring and what the truck market looks like here in the U.S. So,
Mhm.
folks, if you don't know about this chicken tax, Google it because it'll be a fascinating anecdote, especially in light of this modern day tariff environment that we're all trying to better understand and navigate through. So, Jeffrey, you were
Yes.
kind of focused on manufacturing with that first response.
Yeah.
Where are you going next, Jeffrey?
The second part will be from the carrier side, which is
Okay.
including air freight and the ocean liner.
Yep.
Because the shipping from China actually Of course, you can use a cross-border, but still, in terms of the efficiency, you still need to consider like air freight, particularly for the electronic or semiconductor product. It takes too long and too risky, right? Because you have to cross so many different countries in terms of the customs compliance issue. So the air freight actually we see a lot of the shifting from China to Southeast Asia country.
Okay.
The other also the ocean liner, but for ocean liner, actually China they built the very modern port in the past 10, even up to 20 years with a big vessel up to like a 24,000 TEU. But today, Southeast Asia, except Singapore, you can accommodate that. But most of the port you cannot come. So they have to use in either charter vessel or like a feeder vessel. But again, we see a lot of the shipping, manufactured shipping. So we see that is one of the trend in the last couple of years. And it's not so, actually it is crowded, which people may not see from the USA side. But actually that a lot of the moving in the past already. Second part, of course, we talk about the Red Sea crisis. I learned that last month, early this month in TPM, actually, Red Sea crisis, if the resolution finished, I think it will take the 2 to 3 months to restore the 10% of the capacity.
Wow.
Then that additional 2 million TEU of the freight capacity will be increased. Then we will see the ocean will a little bit downturn in the second half year. But of
Okay.
course, we need to see how the resolution of the Red Sea crisis. So I think that is from the carrier side, which means we will talk about the supply probably will over than demand for ocean if Red Sea crisis resolution. The third part is a freight forwarding company like us, because we got some company need to expand the infrastructure and the service accessibility in a different location. So luckily our company already established 30, 40 years ago. Second part, you have to know how to optimize the workforce. Today we talk about the AI. Actually, earlier we talked about our system we call the value plus. Internally, we already utilize the AI to do the efficiency for the internal operation. So including the how to connect with the customer vendor, and we all utilize the UI to analyze, including the customer performance. I think that's an important part. The last part for us, because the uncertainty of the global market, actually, we need to stay close contact to engage with the customer. That's why in the last 2 years, actually every year I travel more than 130 to 140 days, not only in United States, but also Asia country. I think that is very important to show our determination and our commitment to work with the customer. And last week I was in San Francisco. Early this week I was in New York. Majority are meeting with the customers, try to exchange more ideas and how to work together. So I think for us, how to engage with the customer to understand customer requirement is something very important from the freight forwarding point of view.
Jeffrey, we're getting a bit of a master class on a variety of topics here, and I love it. Kim, we went from kind of getting some prognostications, if I can say that right, on ocean freight and what may lie ahead. Of course, the Red Sea crisis he touched on. He didn't say this exactly, but if you don't already have certain elements and certain agility in your supply chain infrastructure, operational resilience, I call it, you're going to be in a lot worse position to be able to navigate what's coming. I'm not going to say it's too late. Other folks may, and that may be accurate, but he talked about optimizing workforce. He talked about, of course, we're in the golden age of supply chain tech and AI. But Kim, the last thing he touched on there was staying really close to your customer and really investing in those relationships and exchanging old and new ideas and finding new ways of collaborating and delivering value. Your thoughts there, Kim?
So partnership is always key. We are entering some uncharted territory, I think we can honestly say. I was at TPM as well earlier in March, and
Mhm.
the carriers are kind of all over the place, right? They are also concerned because they don't want to lock into anything. We don't know what's going to go on with the market. We see a lot of retailers, e-commerce, raw resources, copper, aluminum, steel. People are front loading that. They're trying to get inventory in before we see these tariffs go in place. Copper being the most recent. Now we have auto, possibly auto parts. And so we're seeing a lot of front loading that's raising prices in ocean freight. But is it artificial? To what Jeffrey's saying, is that going to bottom out in the second half of the year? Which Jeffrey's shaking his head. We kind of all think that might be what's going to happen,
Right.
but we're not sure. So yeah, so relationships now are really key. And I'd say the other thing I'm counseling a lot on right now is staying flexible. Do not
Mhm.
lock to anything. We don't know what's going to happen. Don't go running, charging forward to try to be the first one because we're not really sure what's going to happen.
Kim, excellent advice. It reminds me of, I'm not sure if we talked about this week or if it was someone else, but Mary Barra, I think, is the CEO of General Motors. And I'm not going to get her quote exactly right, but she said something about kind of along the lines of what you're saying. We're not going to invest billions of dollars into tons of uncertainty. And I'm paraphrasing what she's sharing, but Kim, she's basically reiterating your what you just shared there. Um, so let me ask you this, Jeffrey. Right now
Yeah.
that we're wallowing in all this uncertainty, and there's lots of educated guesses from a lot of experts out there, including both of you, about where we're going. But let's talk about trade compliance. Jeffrey, what I have found in my career, at least, and this comes up from time to time on some of our shows here, is that the professionals in kind of the trade compliance department
Mhm.
can be viewed incorrectly sometimes. Sometimes they're viewed as like the sheriff, when actually they're a great resource to help um, add some oil and grease to the wheels and make things easier and take some of the friction out. Well, Jeffrey, what would be your suggestion when it comes to how we can leverage trade compliance and trade compliance pros more effectively?
Okay, I think one thing, because the manufacturer usually they doing they call the complete knockdown or semi knockdown, so they can ship from China to Vietnam, for instance.
Right.
Right, China the 2018 already have the 10 to 25% of the tariff on the particular on those electronic. Then when they ship to the manufacturer in Vietnam, Hanoi, which is across the border, will be there. So you will see a lot of the electronic, including the cell phone or some other electronic product
Yeah.
manufactured there. But the most important right now, inbound to the state. Actually, people may know or may not know, Vietnam is the number 3 trade deficit with the United States. 2023 is about the 109 billion trade deficit, but 2024 up to almost 125 billion. So I think that's why the government will try to tax them in the next level of the country. But so the most important, from the manufacturer, you need to know the product or the raw material, where is the country of origin. I think this is the important. Maybe you have the different tax
Mhm.
when you import as a complete product. The other, I think the people like to use a different the value of the good. So I think that's another important thing. People can look at today if the AI cost 10,000 or whatever, you cannot say only 1,000, right? So you need to make sure you got to declare the correct value. The other, probably you can look at the duty drawback. Okay,
Okay.
if you resell to the other country, then of course
Mhm.
CTPAC after 9/11, USA I think is the first one to implement the CTPAC. So CTPAC is back over 22 years already. If the
Mhm.
company or customer they have their own CTPAC, I think they already have a secure from the custom here. Just like for me, I travel a lot, so the global entry, right? They already have all the record. Then they want the they won't charge you additional, or they probably only do very random check on you. So the company have to apply the city pass. So in the past, most American company they know that. But now if you see more the Asia company want to ship to United States, they have to apply city pass in order to be not to audit all the time. Then of course you need to work with the company, import export license. And like at Demerco, we are already in the United States almost 50 years, and we are CTPAC qualified, and we have a lot of the regulation because company was here for the almost 50 years. So I think that for customers have to look for some of the expert of the import export license, CTPAC, and the trade compliant company. So
Okay.
that's my comment. Yeah.
Jeffrey. So Kim, what we're actually getting some trade compliance tips from Jeffrey Shih, and I love that. Maybe we'll owe him a consulting check later today,
Right. Yeah.
Jeffrey. But Kim, what'd you hear, and what would you really call out for our listeners that are always looking for some inside baseball when it comes to trade compliance?
So so I started as a customs broker. I don't know if a lot of people know that. I started with Rogers and Brown in Norfolk, Virginia. Before that, I actually worked for a little company called T. Parker Host, which was a ship husbandry company. They
Okay.
took care of the ships when they came in. But I started as a broker with Rogers and Brown in Norfolk. And so my background is actually started as a customs broker. And it's interesting when we talk about customs brokers, right? Because they're really kind of viewed up until recently as kind of the stick in the mud, right? Like, oh, like anything not to talk to the customs compliance
Right.
person. And I really kind of had that sort of attitude when I got hired into Amazon. I got hired to Amazon to build Amazon Global, right? Which was the doing duty and tax calculation at checkout with a guarantee that when it arrived in your home in 220 countries, it would be what we told you it was, or we would eat the difference. So I went to Amazon and I had this very customs compliance stick in the mud sort of mindset, right? And Amazon was like, that isn't going to work here. And so I had to learn how to work with business and create solutions versus being like, no, according to regulation 12345, that is not allowed. I had to come up with different, how are we going to make this work? So I see that as the opportunity for customs compliance people today.
Yeah.
Today, there is an opportunity. If you are not talking to your customs compliance person, and my message to you, customs compliance people out there, is put your thinking hat on and your solution hat on, right? How are we going to solve these problems? And you need to go talk to your customs compliance people and figure out what kind of importing schemes, and I use that as a business scheme, are available to you for you to try to navigate these duties and taxes, mitigate how much you're paying. Good old DDP has been hot and heavy lately.
Yeah.
I never thought I'd see the Incoterm live as large as it is today. So yeah, there are options out there. Talk to your customs compliance people.
All right, okay. So, folks, we are getting outstanding insights here today from folks that have been there and done it. And I love what Kim is challenging y'all out there, you customs compliance professionals. We love you. You're not sticks in the mud, but she's challenging y'all to be less like Barney Fife or less of the sheriff looking to right demerits and say no, no,
Right.
no, no, but to shift that mindset into one that helps find the solutions and find opportunities while guiding through what we can and can't do. Kim, love it. Like, we need a whole series on that. All right. So Jeffrey and Kim,
Yeah.
a couple more things I want to ask you about, Jeffrey. And you've already, on this next topic, you've already spoken a bit on that China plus one strategy, which has been at play for several years now. We're seeing some different tweaks here in recent months and into this year. But what else when you think of China plus one, that strategy, in light of this trade environment and some of the surprises, some of it has been communicated ever since the election. Some wrinkles of that are certainly surprises here in 2025. What observation would you have with the sourcing strategies that are in play beyond what you've already shared, Jeffrey?
Because my personal experience, and we are more focused on electronic. So in terms of the sourcing, actually, like I mentioned earlier, there's at least half of the contract manufacturer globally is shared by the Taiwanese manufacturer, right?
Right.
Including Foxconn, Inventec, Quantas, Kempo, Wistron, or Packatron. So actually, they are doing a lot of the product, including automotive, including cell phone, notebook, or like a medical product. So I think those are the important. But because the Taiwan can do the contract manufacture, you receive the order, but the manufacturer now already ship from China to other country. For instance, semiconductor is one of the major industry in the world right now. TSMC number one, but manufacturer they are talking about a very high end, two name and one name coming up. But some of the lower end product they will ship to Malaysia. Okay, like a Penang, like a Kuala Lumpur. And AI product, the server, there's one of the Taiwanese company, but is American Taiwanese company called Supermicro. They beside Taiwan, they also set up the manufacturer in Johor Bahru, which is cross border of Singapore. So by saying that, we will see the industry shifting to the Southeast Asia country. Malaysia probably more focused semiconductor and the electronic. Indonesia, of course, they will maintain the wearing apparel and the shoes and some other low-end consumer product because they are all over 100 million of the population. Vietnam, particularly, we talk about. And the Philippines, we talk about the outsourcing the business process, call center, and some other. Then India, beside the IT, pharmaceutical, textile, and now the Moody government also talk about the semiconductor investment. Of course, you don't see in the short term, but in long term, you will see India also want to build a semiconductor.
Mm.
And Vietnam, particularly, traditional textile, shoes, wearing apparel, furniture, but now they also want to focus on the semiconductor. Other than the electronic in the northern part of the Vietnam, Hanoi. So we see the manufacturer or the company customer dealing with, probably majority was either you had to stay in China, but unfortunately there's the trade tension in between China and USA. So
Right.
we see that Taiwan probably will be another sourcing area. Then they can utilize not only China production, they can use in other location in Southeast Asia. For instance, we are doing some of the notebook business, and they are shipping from Chongqing, China to Bangkok.
Yep.
Because the contract manufacturer like Guangda is one of the major production for them.
Hmm.
So I would say the shipping some of the Taiwan or some other Southeast Asia country, you will see the shipping other than the China.
So Jeffrey,
Yeah.
next time we talk, I am bringing a global map so I can track your conversations
Okay.
everywhere. I am geographically challenged. I'm working on that, Kim and Jeffrey. But
Yeah.
there is so much to kind of all these shifts that you're talking about and these different markets that are entering bold new chapters, such as India. Kim, Jeffrey
Mhm.
mentioned India. It is really
Yeah.
fascinating to see what is going on from a manufacturing perspective in India for the last several years and how they're between the government and the private sector. There's a ton of investment that's
Mhm.
growing the big things in the Indian manufacturing sector. But Kim, whether it's that or anything else that Jeffrey touched on, of course, semiconductors, we're going to have
Mhm.
computer chips in our socks if we don't already have them. They're everywhere,
We
they're
don't already have
everything, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
What'd you hear there? What'd you want to comment on, Kim?
As Jeffrey said, we're going to continue to see shifts to Southeast Asia, trying to get out of China. But I do want to bring up a little blast from the past, and we haven't talked about in a long time, which was BRIC.
Mm.
About 10,
Mhm.
15 years ago, Brazil, Russia, India, China was the big focus, and where we thought our biggest competition for manufacturing was going to be coming from. So it's interesting to see that us talking about India again. India has popped back up there. I'm not sure Russia is still in the same position they were 15 years ago. But we're also seeing a lot of activity out of LATAM. and Brazil. So we expect to see more movement there as well. But I did want to bring that back because as we continue to talk about India, India has kind of been in the waters and trying to elevate their manufacturing space for quite some time now.
That's right. That is right.
Actually,
They're
I'm going
finding,
to go to the Brazil next month.
really.
See, he's on to
Yeah,
it.
because like Kim mentioned, actually the as a global area, right, can build the
Mhm.
company the value.
Mm,
So
Yeah.
actually 15 years ago, I already traveled by myself. So now we're the partner over there. So next month I'm going to
okay.
meet
Mhm.
them. There's a 10 different country manager from the uh, Latin American country. So I'm going to have a
Wonderful.
meeting with them over there. Try to
Love it.
build other than the USA market and like
Mhm.
BRIC, right? The Brazil.
Yeah.
Actually, Brazil also is a big market.
Yes,
Yeah.
it
Yes.
is.
Very
Diversify,
big market.
diversify, diversify. And
Yeah.
Kim, you're I'm not sure exactly when this will publish, but you've got a couple big trips coming up, including where you're keynoting in
Austria.
Austria.
Yeah, for
Austria.
WCA, the World Cargo
Right.
Association.
Oh, okay.
And I will be, yeah, I think Jeffrey might be familiar with those guys.
Yeah, WCL.
And we will actually, yeah, we will actually be talking about LATAM. We'll have a panel on LATAM at that event.
Okay.
Outstanding. Outstanding. Okay. I feel so inadequate, Jeffrey and Kim. Y'all are going all around the world. Actually, I'll tell you, I am going to Cape
Oh, come
Town.
on now.
I've got, I was kind of kidding. I'm going to Cape Town in June. We're excited to see the
Oh, okay.
SafePix conference
Okay.
again. So this is a perfect segue, Jeffrey and Kim. Perfect segue. So Jeffrey, and we've kind of touched on this on the front end. You know, all the different places you've lived throughout your career. Gosh, I'm losing count here, but I think 7 different countries is what you've called home, right? And lived in.
Yeah.
You've worked in countless other countries, but you've already referenced the religions and the cultures and the languages. It all make up this beautifully diverse world we live in and work in. So the advice that you would offer for future
Mhm.
CEOs that are out there watching or listening with that global market in mind, what advice would you have for those folks that want to find as much success as you have?
Okay. There's a couple area. I think the first one is English speaking capability. As an international company, you got to be able to communicate through the English because right now English is the common language for everybody, right?
Yep.
So because from the Asia perspective, we do learn English, but doesn't mean you can communicate better. So that's why I prefer to stay in a different country to learn the local culture than
Mhm.
especially in our industry, the compliance, custom issue, because that you can help customers for the we so-called the problem solving. Second one, because of that, you will need to build a team, the surrounding with a talent team to work together with you. Like Kim mentioned earlier, our industry is 724. It's not
Mhm.
9 to 5 business. And because across the country, the wartime, the clock is different. So you
Yeah.
must have the talent team to work together with you in order to learn.
Mm.
Then the other, we talk about the empower the innovation of the system, the IT system. I think this is something as a future CEO, you have to learn and to adopt it. I think the other one is you always need to improve the growth mindset because
Mhm.
I found some of the people are easy to stay in the comfort zone.
Mm.
Actually, today I want to share. I didn't come back for over 500 days during the pandemic. My home still in United States, but
Mhm.
you know what I was doing? I take the online class of the Stanford leadership.
Mm.
I took the opportunity. So I encourage our team and people, you have to have the growth mindset, keep learning, and you never stop learning. I think that's also from our own, for our founder of the company. No matter how old you are, where you are, you still need to continue learning, adopt the new technology. Then, of course, the last one, always need to create your own value, regardless of what position you are, because one day you can be able to grow up to the next level. But you always need to think about how to create your own value in your organization, in your department, in your company, or in your country. So that's my advice to the people.
Jeffrey, that's a bit of a master class, and that deserves its own podcast series. But I'll start with where he left off, Kim. About I love the growth mindset. I love the building the diverse team you can learn from. Of course, constantly learning new tech because it just continues to evolve so fastly. But creating your own value, I think that is something. Whether you want to be a CEO in supply chain or you just want to be successful in life, I think that's a universal best practice to keep in mind. Your thoughts, Kim?
I am a big fan of the growth mindset. I am constantly evolving, constantly changing. In my personal life, if you know me personally, people have joked, if you stand still around Kim, she'll probably throw you out. I've constantly got a stream of stuff going to thrift store so that I can replace it with something new. But I'm a big growth mindset person. We should always be evolving, always looking for the next solution. How can we do it better? There is, and especially in supply chain, there is always opportunity. Anyone who tells me they've got their supply chain perfect has not dug deep enough.
I'm with you. Oh, I love that. And folks, if you're not connected with or following Kim Reuter over on social, you're missing out. I'm telling you, some awesome blog articles. I saw the one earlier today about firefighting, and I hadn't finished reading it yet, but I think I know where you're going, so I'll be picking that back up tonight.
Chirp, chirp.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
all right, Jeffrey Shih. I want to make sure folks know how to connect with you and the Dimerco Express Group. I really enjoyed your perspective here today. I don't know how you fit in as much as you fit in into like this hour-long conversation, but I'm feeling a lot smarter leaving this conversation. So thank you for that, Jeffrey. How can folks connect with you and the Dimerco team?
Yeah, I think the Dimerco website, www.dimerco.com. And myself is Jeffrey, Jeffrey_Shih, SHIH @dimerco.com.
Okay. You put your email out there. That's bold and fearless, Jeffrey. Bold and fearless. But I like that.
Thank you.
Folks, you can learn more. You can learn
Yeah.
more, as Jeffrey said, at Dimerco.com. I got it up right here. DIMERCO.com. Check it out. And be sure to connect with Jeffrey Shih out there. And hey, if you pass by him as he's in his world travels, make sure you stop and shake his hand and ask him to give you an update. It'll be well worth your time, I can promise you. Big thanks to have you here with us, Jeffrey Shih. All right, Kim Reuter. We've covered a lot of ground. I think I'm walking away with a certification from y'all too. What is your patented though? Your patented, what we call it, the Kimmy Keeper?
The Kimmy Keeper.
Okay, the Kimmy Keeper. New term here. What is your patented key takeaway from today's great conversation?
I'm going to come from my customs compliance heart on this one. Love your customs compliance people. They're there to help you. And customs compliance people, you need to be there to offer solutions. Nobody needs you to read the regs.
Well said. I love that. Issuing a challenge here at the end. Folks, make sure you connect with Jeffrey Shih at Dimerco and Kim Reuter as they both are traveling the globe, helping to make industry better. We look forward to having y'all both back with us soon. But I also got to challenge you with this and picking back up on what one of the things Jeffrey said, creating your own value out there, being confident in that value you create and pose. And no telling where that's going to take you in life, especially when you combine that with a true growth mindset. So with all that said, folks, make sure you connect with Jeffrey. Make sure we connect with Kim. Most importantly, make sure you take one thing from this conversation here today, put it into practice, share it with your team. It's all about deeds, not words. And with all that said, on behalf of the entire team at Supply Chain Now, Scott Luton challenging you, do good, give forward, be the change that's needed. And we'll see you next time right back here on Supply Chain Now. Thanks, everybody.
Join the Supply Chain Now community for more supply chain perspectives, news, and innovation. Check out supplychainnow.com, subscribe to Supply Chain Now on YouTube, and follow and listen to Supply Chain Now wherever you get your podcasts.